Welcome to this very special edition. The President elect, Donald Trump, has decided to speak up and speak out to you, the American people, to us. So, this ought to be very informative. Very informative this morning. For all those who still up at this time of night, welcome. And let's go through this Meet the Press. Now we'll speed this up, get the playback speed going a little faster than usual. And let's go.
With Kristen Welker.
Good Sunday morning. President-elect Donald Trump is the first president to win non-consecutive terms since Grover Cleveland. And we haven't heard from him extensively since his decisive victory until now. I sat down with the president-elect at Trump Tower in New York on Friday for his first broadcast interview since winning the election. We spoke for nearly an hour and a half in a wide-ranging conversation about what these next 4 years will look like. He told me his first 100 days will focus on bringing down prices, addressing the border, and getting his cabinet picks confirmed. And I asked him what he'll do on his first day in office. I understand that on day one, you're going to be signing a flurry of executive orders. Can you give me just what are the top ones people should know about?
A lot of it will have to do with economics. A lot's going to have to do with energy. A lot's going to do with having to do with the border. We're going to immediately strengthen up the border and do a real job. And some of the basics.
I began the interview with one of the top issues for voters, the economy and the cost of living. I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow.
So how are you going to guarantee that it's going to be successful?
But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular, China, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over,
That's a lie.
they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs.
No, because inflation happens over a period of time. Because you put the tariffs in place, the inflation started to rise. So it took about a year before you started to see the results nationwide of the inflation from the whole tariffs. But let's let this continue. So that was an incorrect statement.
Tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over.
Tariffs will not make us rich. It's going to put a lot of money into the Secretary of Treasury. Treasury Department will have it. It's supposedly tax money. It's supposed to go to fixing things in this country, but we never get to see where that money goes. So somebody's getting rich, but it's not going to be us.
For $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let it become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico and we're subsidizing Canada and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
So $80 billion is what it cost this country the last time he did tariffs. But he keeps saying it was a positive thing.
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money. And we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part. And we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Are you actually going to impose?
Now, getting other things outside of economics, meaning basically to extort countries into tariffs to get them to do what you want them to do. This is a known trick in politics. Back when tariffs was used, people decided that we're not going to use tariffs anymore. We're just going to use tax because people were doing just what he's doing right now. And yes, the American people did pay. They paid dearly. The American people paid a lot as far as for the tariffs. Stock market rose because of people paying tariffs, and it inflated certain companies' stock while other businesses in America was failing. It's fool's gold. And it's striking a deal saying, hey, you open up a Toyota, a Honda dealership here in the United States, and you sell your foreign cars on American soil, you build them here, then we won't hit you with a tariff. Well, you're going to create these many jobs, so it won't be a tariff. It's like, wow, he created all these jobs. Yes, where the money's going out of the country. You're making money. But the ownership is not in America. The ownership's in another country. Who's getting a tax break? He said, I'm confused. Are we riding with Trump or against him? I'm breaking down the facts of the situation. So it's not about who we with. You're stuck with him anyway because he's the president. Well, he's the president-elect. But when he takes over, he's going to be the president. So whether you're with him or not, this is what you're going to have to look forward to. I'm just giving you the details. You know, they say the devil's behind the details. He's just talking, but I'm giving you the details of what he's trying to say and what he's trying not to tell you.
Who's these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that? I spoke with both. I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call. Yeah. It was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border too a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%.
The chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said he will not leave his post even if you ask him to. Will you try to replace Jerome Powell?
No, I don't think so. I don't see it. But I think if I told him to, he would. But if I asked him to, he probably wouldn't. But if I told him to, he would.
You don't have plans to do that right now?
No, I don't.
He's not going to replace Jerome Powell because he's going to need Jerome Powell. He can't replace him. See, that's the thing. Trump did a lot that he said he was going to do just to get elected. But he's not going to really follow through with a lot of this stuff. You're going to see. Watch.
Okay, let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very tough thing to do. But but you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to love our country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family, and they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't. No,
That
it's within the 3-year period.
figure.
It's during the Biden term. No, that was a fiction that they put that out. This was done by the Border Patrol. It's 13,099, and it's during the Biden period of time. And these are murderers, many of whom murdered more than one person. You don't want those people in this country.
No, we do not. That is absolutely correct. We do not want those people in the country. We do not want their worst. That happened back during if you've seen the movie Scarface, that's how we got Tony Montana. Castro unleashed the prisons and sent all of the prisoners, if they wanted a second chance, go to America. And it led to the Miami Coke Wars. So we've seen it at its worst. We've seen what they do. He said, Fed answers to government. He said, right, he can't. Fed answers don't answer to governments. Exactly. Get the criminals out. Exactly. But see, that's the thing. But what they're not telling you is that the people who they're targeting, it's got to go by the same rules. You can't just say we're going to get rid of the people from Venezuela, Mexico. What about the people that's from Ukraine that's here? You're not trying to get them out of here. They're illegally here, a lot of them. There's a lot of people illegally from a lot of different places. Don't try to target people. But they never mention that.
But you're saying something, sir, that's significant. I just want to make sure I'm clear, which is that you're saying, yes, you're going to focus on the people with criminal histories, but everyone who's here illegally has to go.
I'm saying this. We have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people. And you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over, literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They just are, they're in the real estate business.
The local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's totally the case. I mean, you
don't believe the local police.
I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, they're breaking into doors. They're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the way, the
point,
police are afraid to do anything.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said yourself you would
everything's complicated.
Yeah, you mean you need 24 times more ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people per year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes. Is it realistic to deport everyone who's here illegally? You have no choice.
First of all, they're costing us a fortune. But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals. We have convicted murders. We don't mean people that are even on trial. We have people that have murdered numerous people are on our streets and in our farms, and we have to get them out of our country.
What about dreamers, sir? Dreamers who were brought to this country illegally as children. You said once back in 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
The dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the dreamers because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country. And yes, We're going to do something about the
What does that
dreamers.
mean?
And
What are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan, and if we can come up with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything. Republicans are very open to the dreamers. The dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country, many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people. And in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them. And
you want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying.
I do.
Okay.
I want to be able to work something out. And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years. And it never got worked out. Biden could have done it because he controlled, Congress to a certain extent, right? He could have done something, but they didn't do it. I never understood why, because they always seem to want to do it. But then when it comes down to it, they don't. I think we can work with the Democrats and work something out.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are.
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your borders are, Tom Homan said, they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep well, I don't want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together, and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well, what you're going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal, and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country. And then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job. And you have to have a series of standards and a series of laws. And in the end, look, our country is a mess.
Let me ask you about some of your other promises on this topic.
Now, she keeps cutting him off. But so far, he's right about deportation, getting the criminals out of the country. That is a 100%. Should never have been here, period. And the Democrats are lying, though they are doing those things. They are putting these people in danger. And they are taking over apartment buildings and terrorizing people in there. It's like New Jack City.
Promise to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive action?
We're going to have to get a change. We'll maybe have to go back to the people, but we have to end it. We're the only country that has it.
Through an executive action?
We're the only country that has it. If somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need to, on our land, congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America. Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
Through executive action?
Well, if we can, through executive action. I was going to do it through executive action, but then we had to fix COVID first, to be honest with you. We have to end it.
Let's talk about how.
So he's talking about ending the 14th Amendment in the Constitution. So even if you're born on American soil, you will not be American. Wow. Let that sink in, people. What would be the parameters now?
Healthcare. I've been talking to Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill. They say it's no longer feasible to repeal and replace Obamacare because it's so entrenched in the system. Do you see it that way? Is that now off the table, repealing and replacing?
When John McCain let us down by voting, and Murkowski and Collins and whoever it was that voted against, but they really let us down. They did us a great disservice because we would have had great health. Obamacare is lousy health care. It's very expensive health care for the people. It's also expensive for the country, but for the people, it's lousy health care. When John McCain gave his thumbs down after saying for 10 years that he wants to repeal and replace, okay? And then he came out, put his now famous thumbs down, and he became a hero to the left. Let me just tell you, if we find something better, I would love to do it. But unless we find, one thing I have to say, I inherited Obamacare or anything else you want to go. It's got about 20 names, but I inherited it. And I had a decision to make with Health and Human Services. I had a big decision to make. Do I make it as good as we can make it, or do I let it rot? And a lot of political people said, let it rot and let it be a failure. I said, that's not the right thing to do. And I had very good people in the medical area that handled that. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, we really have an obligation to make it as good as we can. And we did. We made it.
We made it by not doing anything. Okay, I don't know what about assembly.
As good as we can make it, or do I let it rot? And a lot of political people said, let it rot and let it be a failure. I said, that's not the right thing to do. And I had very good people in the medical area that handled that. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, we really have an obligation to make it as good as we can. And we did. We made it as good as we can make it. Instead of making it bad where everybody would be calling for its repeal, I made it so that it works. Now,
but you did try to overturn it, sir.
Well, it's
you did
lousy.
Try to overturn it. You did have your Justice Department try to direct the Supreme Court.
Exactly. He tried to get the Supreme Court.
No, we got a little bit of a surprising opinion.
Then he tried to act as if once that failed, he tried to get rid of it. Then he tried to say, we made it better. You didn't add anything to Obamacare. You didn't do any changes to it at all. You never came up with your own healthcare plan, which is what you said you were going to do, and replace it. You never said we're gonna fix it. You said it had to go. Now it's the Affordable Health Care Act. They don't call it Obamacare no more. They just renamed it. So the only change you did was rename it because you saw it was working and you had no other system in place.
To be honest with you, if it would have been overturned, we would have had much better health care right now. But right now, we have something that I made the best of. I could have made the worst of it, and it would have fallen by the wayside. I did the right thing from a human standpoint. But, you know, I'm sort of proud of my decision. At the same time, sometimes I regret it. I told the people, and I gave them the money to do it. I said, fix it, make it work, because people would have suffered. But it's too bad that they voted no. I wish John McCain, he fought for 10 years on replacing Obamacare for 10 years, and then he voted against. Nobody understands.
Sir, you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for healthcare?
Yes, we have concepts of a plan that would be better.
Still just concepts? Do you have a fully developed plan?
Let me explain.
Still no plan.
We have the biggest healthcare companies looking at it. We have doctors. We're always looking because Obamacare stinks. It's lousy. There are better answers. If we come up with a better answer, I would present that answer to Democrats and to everybody else, and I do something about it. But until we have that, or until they can approve it, but we're not going to go through the big deal. I am the one that saved Obamacare, I will say, and I did the right thing. I could have.
You're not the one that saved it if you're the one that tried to go to the Supreme Court to have it overturned and thrown out. You can't say, we got to try to fix it and find out something that's better when you had 4 years of it to figure out a plan. In 4 years, you didn't figure out a plan. And now in another 4 years, you're saying, we still got to figure this thing out. Now, so which one is it? It don't work and it's bad and you fixed it? Well, if you fixed it, then why are you talking about coming up with a new plan to replace it again?
Done the more political thing and killed it. And all I had to do is starve it to death.
You did try to have your Justice Department effectively kill it, though,
No,
sir.
Kill it from a legal standpoint, but from a physical standpoint, I made it work.
In your concepts of a plan, sir, will people with pre-existing conditions still have coverage, and can you guarantee their prices will not go up?
The answer is yes, they'll have coverage. You have to have it.
And what about their
because
prices?
You know what?
What about their prices, sir?
I want the prices to go down. I want to have better health care for less money. And there are ways of doing it, I believe.
Let's talk about abortion, sir. You have taken responsibility for overturning Roe v. Wade. You've said that abortion is now a state issue. There are steps that you could take, though, as president to restrict abortion through executive action without Congress. More than half of abortions in this country are medication abortions. Will you restrict the availability of abortion pills when you're in office?
I'll probably stay with exactly what I've been saying for the last 2 years. And the answer is no.
You commit to that?
Well, I commit. I mean, do things change? I think they change. I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I will not, under any circumstances, give him a pardon. I watched this, and I always knew he was going to give him a pardon. And so I don't like putting myself in a position like that. So things do change, but I don't think it's going to change at all.
Unbelievable. He's the last president. We're moving into the new world order. We've already been in a new world order. We've been in a new world order for a very long time. Look, inflation has been so high that if you had $100 from 1990s and you kept it in the bank, the worth of that dollar now is probably $31 out of that $100. We've been in a new world order. Everyone keeps talking about cash is king, right? No, it isn't. I can pay my bills. I can do everything and move numbers around without cash, without ever touching cash. Everything's a currency, digital, not physical. You can't even touch it. Electronic decimal points tell us how much we got, how much we don't have. You can use that to pay everything. All you need is a card. One world currency. So you've already been in a new world order. It's just that people don't realize they're in a new world order because they didn't make an announcement telling you're in a new world order. Now, she brought up a very good point. 52% of abortions are medically related. So affecting Roe v. Wade is a very serious situation. Not everybody's running to get an abortion because, they just loose out in the streets. A lot of them are medical emergencies. But these are men, predominantly men, making decisions on women's bodies. And misogynistic men making these decisions. Something they need to think about. All of you who have daughters.
And when we come back, will President-elect Trump direct his FBI director and attorney general to go after his political enemies? Welcome back. In our interview, President-elect Trump defended some of his cabinet picks, including his embattled choice for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Hegseth, an Army veteran, is facing allegations of past sexual misconduct and excessive drinking, which he denies. Mr. Trump told me he has confidence in Hegseth. I also asked him about his choice for FBI Director Kash Patel, a hardline critic of the very agency he's been tapped to lead. You named Kash Patel to be the next FBI director. Yeah. He has a list in his book of 60 people that he calls members of the so-called deep state. It includes Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. It includes former members of your cabinet, from Bill Barr to Christopher Wray. You campaigned on destroying the deep state. Do you want Kash Patel to launch investigations into people on that list?
No, I mean, he's going to do what he thinks is right.
Do you think that's right? Do you think that's right, sir?
If they think that somebody was dishonest or crooked or a corrupt politician, I think he probably has an obligation to do it. But
are you going to direct him to do it?
No, not at all. Not at all. We have two great people there.
He's not going to do that because now you're messing with government and powerful people in the FBI. You don't want to screw with that. So he wants to get his guy in there because you don't want to shake too many branches in that department. But he will replace the head of the FBI. That's Patel is definitely going to come in there. But here's the thing. He put the guy there. Trump put the guy that's in there now. And now he don't like the way he's been doing it because he raided his home, his legal order to do so. So for doing his job, Trump is mad because he's like, I put you in that job. And then you raided my home. Like it was his personal decision to come and raid his house.
We have him and we have Pam. And Pam Bondi has been like a rocket ship. She's very popular and very good and very fair. And Kash Patel is very fair. I'll tell you, I thought Kash may be difficult because he's, a strong conservative voice. And I don't know of anybody that's not singing his praises. The other day I was watching, and Trey Gowdy, who's a moderate person and very smart and very respected in the party. He's Cash's biggest fan. He said, this is the most misunderstood man in politics. He's great. I guess they worked together on the Russia hoax or something. And Trey Gowdy became a fan. Trey Gowdy. Everybody respects him. And, just like him, others also. I don't know of one negative vote. I don't think he's going to have any negative votes.
Is it your expectation, though, that Kash Patel will pursue investigations against your political enemies?
No, I don't think so.
Do you want to see that happen?
If they were crooked, if they did something wrong, if they have broken the law, probably they went after me. They went after me and I did nothing wrong.
Well, let me ask you this. You said President Biden, quote, that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. You said that
Where
during
did I say that?
the campaign.
Where?
You said that on Truth Social, June 12th, 2023. I will appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the United States, Joe Biden, and the entire Biden crime family. Are you going to do that? Are you going to go after Joe Biden?
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful.
He can't go after Joe Biden. You're not going to go after a former president of the United States of America. You're not. It's only going to cause more disrest, more people to rally against you. Plus, Joe still has a lot of powerful people backing him.
Retribution will be through success. If we can make this country successful, that would be that would be such a great achievement. Bring it back. We have a country now that's overridden with crime, that has millions of people that shouldn't be here, that should be in prisons in other countries, that should be in mental institutions. We have drug lords being dropped into a country and told never go back to their country. I'm looking to make our country great. I'm looking to bring prices down because, I won on two things, the border and more than immigration. They like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word. The groceries, when you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
I want to pause here.
Okay, so now he's promising milk, eggs, dairy, when the Democrats said most of these Republican farms were raising the prices on purpose, what they call price gouging. That they were doing this to cause disrest into this system of inflation to irritate voters. So they were overcharging for everything and they wanted to stop it. But the thing is, they were in the White House. They could have stopped this price gouging when it was going on. So now Trump's in office. They're going to supposedly bring the prices down. We shall see.
Because what you're saying is significant. Because you wrote on Truth Social in 2023 that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. Now you're saying you're not going to do that.
I will say this. No, I'm not doing that unless I find something that I think is reasonable. But that's not going to be my decision. That's going to be Pam Bondi's decision. And to a different extent, Kash Patel, assuming they're both there. And I think they're both going to get approved. But while you ask me that, what they've done to me with weaponization is a disgrace.
We'll get to some of that.
No, wait. You can't do one without the other. In the history of our country, nothing like this has ever happened. And I've won these cases. I've won every one, and the rest are in the process of being won. Deranged Jack Smith is on his way back to The Hague, where he can execute people. This is where he should have stayed. I think he's dangerous even being there. But I'll tell you what they've done to me in terms of weaponization, indictments, impeachments, and everything else. And in the end, it probably helped me because I got the biggest vote, the most votes any Republican's ever gotten in history.
Pam Bondi talks about
that didn't happen. That happened before all of this happened. You did not do that in this upcoming election. You actually lost 3 million votes.
Investigating the investigators. Do you want her to investigate Jack Smith?
I want her to do what she wants to do.
Do you want to see Jack Smith investigated?
Well, I think he's very corrupt, but I want her to do whatever she has to do.
Are you going to direct her to prosecute Jack Smith?
She's a very smart person. She was a great...
Now, he's not going to do that personally. Ask her to do it. But Jack Smith will probably be replaced. That's why he's going to put his guy in there. And if he gets approved, which he might get approved, then we'll see what happens from there. But he'll just appoint another person in that's loyal to him only.
attorney general in Florida. She's very experienced. I want her to do what she wants to do. I'm not going to instruct her to do it now.
Sir, are you going to fire the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, who you appointed?
Well, I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago. I'm very unhappy with the things he's done. And crime is at an all-time high. Migrants are pouring into the country that are from prisons and from mental institutions, as we've discussed. I can't say I'm thrilled. I don't want to be Joe Biden and give you an answer and then do the exact opposite.
We're going to talk about
so
that,
I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is I certainly cannot be happy with him. You take a look at what's happened. And then when I was shot in the ear, he said, oh, maybe it was shrapnel. Where's the shrapnel coming from? Is it coming from heaven? I don't think so. So we need somebody to straighten. I have a lot of respect for the FBI, but the FBI's respect has gone way down over the last number of years.
Don't you have to fire him in order to make room for Kash Patel if he is in fact confirmed?
Well, I mean, it would sort of seem pretty obvious that if Kash gets in, he's going to be taking somebody's place, right? And somebody is the man that you're talking about.
I asked you last time.
So he just said it right there, that if Kash Patel gets approved, somebody has to go. And it's going to be that guy at the FBI, the guy who he put in charge of the FBI. That was his guy. And he's mad because it's personal to him. That's what makes him very unstable as a president. He takes everything personally. So now, because they invaded Mar-a-Lago, which he was following an executive order, that's his job to do, he didn't say, hey, guess what I'm going to do today? He had an order to do so. Mm-hmm.
We sat down for an interview if you were going to pardon yourself. You said no. But now that President Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter, are you reconsidering? Might you pardon yourself?
I didn't do anything wrong. I was given the option. And the lawyers told me, a very specific lawyer, I don't have to go into who, but very high up in the administration said, sir, if you pardon yourself, you're going to look guilty. And you did nothing wrong. Oh, I had that option. I could have saved myself a lot of legal fees. But it turned out that I was right. Look at what's going on. Everything's being dropped. I still have a Fonnie Willis, a total hoax. That's a total hoax. It's all being dropped.
I also asked the president-elect about NBC News' reporting that President Biden is considering preemptive pardons for some of the people who have clashed with Mr. Trump, including Senator-elect Adam Schiff, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney. As part of his response, Mr. Trump lashed out at the January 6th committee, accusing it of unfairly targeting him and even of destroying its records, which the committee denies.
Now, I've never seen or heard anything about him getting all of his cases dropped. This is the first I'm hearing about him getting cases dropped. So Black said, notice him and Diddy have something in common. Both houses got raided and both prosecuted in New York State. Of course. They will drag you somewhere to New York, even though none of these crimes that they're talking about is happening in New York. They want to get you to New York, the stronghold. Oh, this baggage claim stuff. Okay, I was wondering what this was. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's an argument going on in this chat. People are going at it in the chat because I'm thinking, like, if they talking to me, I'm trying to answer questions. They involved in a whole war in the chat. Jay-Z is next. No, he's not Black Sigma. I wish she was in the live that we did on Carcino for Life. Jay ain't having it. He's got the FBI in his pocket.
And Cheney was behind it.
Well,
and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did, honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think everybody, anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
And I asked the president-elect if he plans to follow through on his campaign promise to pardon those who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, including the more than 900 people who pleaded guilty to crimes.
I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual cases, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Issue these pardons.
These people have been there. How long is it? 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
You know, by the way, they've been in there for years, and they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
And when we come back, President-elect Trump's message to the people who didn't vote for him.
Now, very interesting. Now he talked about drill, baby, drill, because he's about fracking. And all these people, these companies, lined his pockets up from Halliburton, Caterpillar, all of these companies who, you know, get into drills and make drill bits and make valves. These companies need drilling. They need things to get drilled into. But fracking hurts everything, the economy. They've proven it, you know, over and over again that we don't need to be fracking is terrible. It's not going to be approved. And Trump is an approved fracking. He said that's because they're federal crimes, not state crimes. Every state is a federal state, so a federal crime can be tried anywhere. Well, let's drag it to New York. The stronghold.
Welcome back. The Syrian government fell overnight, a stunning end to the more than 50-year rule of the Assad family as rebels claimed Damascus. I pressed the president-elect on a range of foreign policy issues, including U.S. support for Ukraine and NATO in his second administration. Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into office?
Yeah, probably. Sure.
You said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office. You're actively trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin
No, I have
since
not.
you've been elected?
No, well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've been elected?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
But you
I want to
have
stop.
talked about
Let me
the
tell you
other
what I have
world
talked about.
leaders.
Let me tell you. There are people being killed in that war at levels that nobody's ever seen before. You have to go back to the Second World War, and even that, if you take a look at, and you know what it is? It's the soldiers largely. The cities have been emptied out and demolished. The country has been demolished. If I won that election, which you know how I feel about it, I won't get into it because we don't need to start that argument. I think it's an easy argument. It was really proven even more conclusively by the win that I had on this one. But
you did,
had
I, sir.
Well, that's your opinion, but I disagree with it. Had I assumed, kept control, number one, Israel wouldn't have happened. Number two, Ukraine would have never happened. It would have never happened, Ukraine, Russia. But the number of people that are being killed, soldiers, young, beautiful soldiers, hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. And, you know, it's very interesting. It's level, totally level. The battlefield's totally level. You know what's happening? Yeah. The only thing that stops a bullet, you know what it is a body, a human body. And the people that are being killed, hundreds of thousands on both sides. Russia's lost probably 500,000. Ukraine's lost higher than they say, probably 400,000. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of bodies laying all over fields. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and it should have never been allowed to happen. Biden should have been able to stop it.
Sir, will the United States stay in NATO while you're in office?
In where?
NATO. Do you commit that the United States will...
Now, that's the North American treaty. Okay. The North Atlantic Treaty. Now, look. You voted for this lunatic. Y'all voted for this lunatic. Who did? Banks put these people in position. She's trying hard to catch Trump in a I got you moment, but it's not working. No, what she's getting him to do is to commit to something. And he's trying not to get boxed in, but his ego keeps making him slip and commit to something. Because that's what he's been doing since this thing started. He keeps saying, I don't want to talk about it. Then he tries to avert things back to Joe Biden. And now he's talking about this war and thinks Biden should have been able to stop the war. And he's going to be able to stop the war now. And he's going to call for a ceasefire. Now, he just met with Zelensky over the weekend in Paris, France. So he met with the president of Paris. They had a conversation. And I'm like, you're not even elected yet. How the hell are you going to call a ceasefire? You're not even the president yet. Oh, my goodness.
Remain a member of NATO while you're in office.
Again, they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taking advantage of us because we would go, look, two things. Number one, they take advantage of us on trade, meaning the European nations, okay, like terrible. They don't take our cars. They don't take our food products. They don't take anything. It's a disgrace. And on top of that, we defend them. So it's a double whammy. So let me just tell you, I was able to get hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO just by a tough attitude. I said to the countries, I'm not going to protect you unless you pay. And they started paying. And that amounted to more than $600 billion. That's a big thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be fighting. They wouldn't have any.
So basically, America is going to stronghold and extort countries. That's a great way to build a relationship with other countries, by extorting them, saying you got to pay us or we're not going to protect you and let you get overran. So we finna shake down smaller countries and keep them poor so that we can remain rich or richer than them. Yeah, that's going to keep them from conspiring.
Any money to fight. If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're if they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely. I'd stay with NATO.
But if not, you would consider the possibility of
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
The president-elect is tasking Elon Musk, the billionaire CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, to try to cut government spending, along with one of Mr. Trump's former primary rivals, businessman Vivek Ramaswamy. All of it putting a spotlight on what it could mean for entitlements and defense spending. You've tapped Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, to head up this Department of Government Efficiency,
correct,
which proposes cuts to the federal government. I think a lot of people hear that and they get concerned about Medicare and Social Security and
not
Medicaid
have anything to do.
and defense spending.
You
won't touch Medicare, Social Security.
Abuse, fraud. Okay. No, I said to be. We're not touching Social Security, other than we might make it more efficient. But the people are going to get what they're getting.
Okay, so the entitlements
and
off the table.
And we're not raising ages or any of that stuff.
Okay, off the table.
I won't do it.
And finally.
Okay. Now he definitively said he's not touching Social Security. I don't believe it, but he made the declaration. He's not raising the age limit. So we shall see. We shall see. Mm-hmm.
I asked the president-elect about this extraordinary moment in time. He is taking office against the backdrop of a country that is so sharply divided, and when he has yet to concede the 2020 election, which he lost. Sir, I don't have to tell you this because you've talked about it. It comes at a time when the country is deeply divided, and now you're going to be leading this country for the next 4 years. For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
No. No. Why would I do that? But let me just tell you,
You
when
won't
you
ever
say the
concede.
country is deeply divided, I'm not the president. Joe Biden's the
But
president.
you're going to be the president.
No, I'm not the president. So when you say it's deeply divided, I agree. But Biden's the president. I'm not. And he has been a divider. And you know where he divided it more than anything else? And it probably backfired.
Then why are you calling a ceasefire to a war? You're not even in the office yet. So now when it comes to a subject you don't want to talk about, you're not the president.
Fired on him. I think definitely is weaponization. When he weaponized the Justice Department and he went after his political opponent, me, he went after his political opponent violently because he knew he couldn't beat him. And I think it really was a bad thing. And it really divided our country.
Sir, Democrats have control of the White House now. They didn't in 2020. If they are going around stealing elections, why
When you
didn't
say
they do it
Democrats
this
have
time
control now,
of the White House?
Yeah.
So why didn't they steal this election? Since they have more power now.
because I think it was too big to rig.
So you won't,
Too big to rig.
to the people who say that you're now directing your Justice Department to investigate 2020
no,
and they want to move
I have
on.
very
Is
capable. I
that
think
a
Pam
good
is going to
use
be
of
great.
precious resources?
By the way,
Is that what you
just
want
so
them
know,
to do?
Just so you know, I have the right to do that, but I'm not interested in that.
Oh, you're not. You're not going to do that.
I'm not interested. I have
Okay.
the absolute right. I'm the chief law enforcement officer. You do know that. I'm the president. But I'm not interested in that. You know what I'm interested in? Drilling and getting prices down and stopping people from pouring into our border that come from prisons and mental institutions.
One of the things that made this campaign unprecedented and
Now, why did he say drilling first? Because those are the people that are lining his pockets. Those are the people that are paying for him. Those are the people who are backing his campaign. Those are his constituents. He said chief law enforcement. Right. He couldn't say I'm the commander in chief. You know, he don't know what the hell he's talking about. He don't even know what he is. I'm the chief law enforcement. Man, everybody's having a fight this morning. What is going on?
extraordinary were the horrific attempts against your life. 2 assassination attempts. Do you feel safe going into the White House
I
for
do.
the next 4 years? Why?
I have confidence in Secret Service. I know the people. I got to know a lot of them, and I have confidence. It was a bad moment. Something shouldn't have happened, but I have a lot of confidence, and they've really stepped it up. They were restricted from giving the look. I do a rally, and you were at many of them, and I'd have 50,000 people. Joe would have a rally, and he'd have 30 people, and he had more Secret Service than me. My Secret.
Now, that's a lie. You know, that's an exaggeration. But why would he feel comfortable going into the White House? If there were 2 attempts on his life, why would he be so confident about going into the White House? Maybe because he staged them. So he ain't got nothing to fear. But that's just me thinking out loud. Because I'm just looking at his ear and I'm just like, man, I don't see any damage at all of a man who's been shot in the ear. But that's just me.
Secret Service was always asking for more manpower / women power. They were asking.
A man gets shot with an AR rifle round, and his ear is completely intact. And we've seen what happens when someone doesn't even get touched by a bullet that comes that close to your head. And I guess because he got Trump skin. We're going to talk about that. That's on the Patreon, Black Signal. That's Patreon talk. Yeah, that's a little higher up in the conversation gene pool.
For more and more and more, and they couldn't get it. I'm not blaming them really, because they were always fighting for more people, and they wouldn't get. Now, boy, do we have it.
I want to ask you, sir, one final question. What do you want to say to Americans who didn't support you in this campaign?
I'm going to treat you every bit as well as I have treated the greatest MAGA supporters. There's never been anything like MAGA in the history of this country. These people are so dedicated to making America great again. It's very simple. And I'm going to treat them just the same as I treat MAGA. We're going to treat everybody good. We want success for our country. We want safety for our country. You know, our country's under threat, as you know. We have a tremendous threat militarily because of the power of weapons and weaponry. It's a tremendous threat. Nobody talks about it, but it's a tremendous threat. I want to treat everybody the same. I want to treat them well. And at the end of this 4 years, and I have a big head start because I was there for 4 years fairly recently. A lot of bad things were done during the 4 years that I wasn't there, and mostly in what they've done in terms of our reputation overseas. Our reputation is so bad, so shot. I got to bring it back, and I also have to bring back civilization to our country. Our country is a crime pot, and we have to get rid of crime. We have so many things to do. We have to do the prices. We have to do all of that. But we have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to bring down crime. People have to be able to walk across the street and buy a loaf of bread without being shot. And that's going to happen. But what I say to them is, I love you, and we're going to all work together. And we're going to bring it together. And you know what's going to bring it together? Success. I saw that just prior to COVID coming in. I had polls that were the highest anyone. McLaughlin and Fabrizio said, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, if they came back from the dead and they ran as president and vice president, couldn't beat you, sir. We were doing so well. And I was getting along with the left. Let's call it the left. Will be nice. Okay, we're just going to call it. But I was getting along with people that you would consider liberal or progressive, as they like to say, at levels that I never thought was possible. And you know what it was? Success. Success was bringing the country together. And that's what I want to do.
And when we come back, President-elect Trump gives us a preview of his inaugural address.
Now, so for all of us who did not vote for Trump, he's going to be fighting for us as much as anybody has ever fought for us ever in life. How many of y'all believe that? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Welcome back. When Mr. Trump is sworn in as president in January, he will be the oldest person ever to assume the office. I asked Mr. Trump about what he will say in that inaugural address and whether he will release his medical records. Let me ask you, sir, as you think about your inauguration, I remember your first inaugural address, you talked about American carnage. Have you thought about your message for your second inaugural address?
I have.
Can you give us a preview?
We're going to have a message that will make you happy, unity. It's going to be a message of unity. And again, I think success brings unity. And I've experienced that. I've experienced it in my first term, as I said. We're going to be talking about unity. We're going to be talking about success, making our country safe, keeping people that shouldn't be in our country out. We have to do that. I know it doesn't sound nice, but we have to do that. But basically, it's going to be about bringing our country together.
Sir, when you think about your time in office, you are making history for a range of reasons, including the fact you will be the oldest person to be sworn into office. Do you commit to releasing your medical records?
Sure. I do it all the time. I think I've released 4 of them.
Not just a letter, though, your full medical report.
Yeah, I would. And I think anybody should. But I mean, according to all the reports, I don't want to, where's wood? Is there some wood where I can knock on wood? But my reports are very good, very strong.
So you plan to release
Sure.
them?
I have no problem with it.
And you can watch our full interview with.
Now, what do you think? They said they put an executive order 137772 772 on his desk before COVID. COVID happened, Trump back. Suddenly we got AI, blockchain, all new tech coming up into fruition. Well, that's going to all be involved with fracking. So you got to look into the fracking industry, the drilling industry, those companies who are lining his pockets. So those stocks are going to go up because he supports drilling. So for the next 4 years, drilling is going to be the thing. Now the Democrats got to find another superstar that they're going to have that's going to run, and Trump won't be able to run. So nobody's voting for J.D. Vance. I'm sorry. I'm waiting for him to say execute Order 66. Yeah, pretty much. Everybody's stuck in that think tank. There's no way of getting out of it. Well, it was a lot of good points. She got him to commit to a lot of things. He committed to the fact that he's not going to change Social Security. He's not going to raise the age limit. All the stuff that he talked about that he needed to change, he's not going to change. So they got him to admit to a lot of different things. From Michigan, because they tried to take her life. I think they're going to go with a male this time around. The Democrats can't take any more chances. They'll have her as a vice president running mate, maybe. But I think now they want to go with a man, at least try to get back to business. If Michelle Obama ran, she had won. Of course, he's a celebrity. Gavin Newsom. Oh, Jesus Christ, no. I will never vote for no damn Gavin Newsom. They know this is a sexist country. I'll call him Gavin Nuisance. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I was glad to see you guys, Jeff. Glad to see a lot of you guys show up today this early. For it to be this early, and y'all still showing support, still riding with your boy. Appreciate it. Really do. So let me go ahead and get to work for y'all on the Patreon. Yes, I'll be on the Patreon, the Casino for Life Patreon. So hope I see y'all over there. We already got a lot of good stuff up in there. So some more finna come. Just hold your hat. Let me get to work.